this fight can end in seconds. One mistake, one straight punch, one moment standing in the wrong place, and Jake Paul gets vaporized. That is the brutal reality of stepping into the ring with Anthony Joshua. At heavyweight against a former world champion with size, reach, power, and experience, there is no margin for error. This is not about hype, confidence, or trash talk. None of that matters once the bell rings. This fight is about structure, discipline, and survival. Without a strict and realistic game plan, it does not go long. With the right strategies, however, it becomes slower, uglier, and far more uncomfortable than most people expect. The first strategy is controlling distance with movement, not power. Jake Paul cannot stand at mid-range and trade punches. That is exactly where Anthony Joshua is at his most dangerous. Joshua's jab and straight right hand are designed to punish opponents who stay directly in front of him. The moment Jake plants his feet and tries to exchange, the fight becomes extremely short. Constant lateral movement is essential, even if it looks basic or awkward. Small side steps, frequent resets, and a refusal to stand still force Joshua to constantly adjust his positioning. Fighters who have disrupted Joshua in the past did so by denying him clean angles and predictable targets, not by matching his strength. The second strategy is clinching early and often. This is not about aesthetics or pleasing the crowd. It is about staying conscious. Joshua prefers space. He wants distance to fully extend his punches and generate maximum power. When opponents close that space, tie him up, lean their weight on him, and force resets, it disrupts rhythm and drains patience. Clinching breaks timing, interrupts combinations, and slows the pace of the fight. Jake Paul must accept boos and criticism if necessary. In this fight, clinching is not weakness. It is damage control and time management. The third strategy is avoiding straight-line retreats at all costs. Backing up in a straight line is one of the fastest ways to get knocked out, especially against a puncher like Joshua. Many of Joshua's knockouts came when opponents retreated directly backward into his right hand. Jake Paul must angle out, pivot, or clinch instead of stepping straight back. Even imperfect lateral movement is far safer than retreating with the chin exposed. At heavyweight, a single step in the wrong direction can end the night instantly, regardless of preparation. The fourth strategy is selective aggression, not constant offense. Jake Paul cannot fight passively for the entire bout, but he also cannot afford reckless pressure. The goal is to pick moments carefully, one or two punches, then out. No long combinations, no extended exchanges. Showing occasional offense matters, not to win exchanges, but to prevent Joshua from walking forward freely and setting his feet without consequence. Heavyweight history consistently shows that fighters survive dangerous opponents by choosing moments wisely, not by forcing action or trying to prove toughness. The fifth strategy is protecting the center line and keeping the guard high at all times. Anthony Joshua's straight punches down the middle are his most reliable weapons. Jake Paul's biggest defensive flaw has been leaving his chin high after throwing his right hand. Against lesser opponents, this habit went largely unpunished. Against Joshua, it could be catastrophic. Jake must tuck his chin, keep his hands high, and prioritize defense over power. Blocking punches, absorbing shots on the gloves, and minimizing clean impact is infinitely better than risking a highlight reel knockout. The sixth strategy is intelligent energy management. This fight is scheduled for only 8 rounds, and that changes everything. Jake Paul does not need to win early rounds. He needs to survive them efficiently. Burning energy early, panicking, or trying to prove durability only accelerates fatigue. Joshua, meanwhile, is under pressure to finish the fight early and make a statement. If Jake stays relaxed, controls his breathing, and avoids unnecessary movement, the later rounds become far more unpredictable. We have seen elite heavyweights slow down significantly when fights do not unfold according to plan, especially when frustration sets in. The seventh and most important strategy is mental discipline. Jake Paul cannot fight emotionally. He cannot react to crowd noise, trash talk, or moments of panic. Once emotion takes over, structure collapses. Many fighters with physical tools have lost not because of skill gaps, but because they lost composure under pressure. Staying calm, even when hurt or pushed backward, buys time. Time creates space. Space creates options. And at heavyweight, a few extra seconds can change everything. There is also one final layer that ties all 7 strategies together, and that is ring awareness. Jake Paul must constantly know where he is standing. Center ring, ropes, corners, and angles are not just positions, they are consequences. Many knockouts happen not because of a bad punch, but because a fighter loses awareness of space. If Jake allows himself to drift into corners or retreat straight back toward the ropes without an exit, Joshua's power multiplies instantly. Every step must have intention. Every movement must include an escape route. This is how fighters with fewer tools survive against superior punchers. There is also an element of timing that cannot be ignored. Jake Paul must understand when to engage, and more importantly, when not to. Heavyweight fights are often decided by impatience. One unnecessary exchange, one forced punch, one emotional decision can undo rounds of discipline. If Jake can recognize moments of danger early and shut them down immediately, he reduces risk dramatically. Survival at this level is not about bravery. It is about restraint, awareness, and knowing when to disengage before damage accumulates. At heavyweight, fights do not slowly slip away. They flip suddenly. One exchange can change the entire night. That is why survival is not passive. It is active decision-making every second. If Jake Paul stays aware, disciplined, and patient, he can extend this fight far longer than expected. And the longer it lasts, the more uncomfortable it becomes for the man who is supposed to dominate. When these 7 strategies come together, the picture becomes clear. Jake Paul does not survive by being better than Anthony Joshua. He survives by being disciplined, patient, and realistic. Ignore even one of these principles, and the fight likely ends violently. Follow all of them, and the fight becomes slower, messier, and far more uncomfortable than most people expect. Anthony Joshua still holds every advantage. Power, experience, and technique all favor him. But boxing does not reward assumptions. It rewards execution. If Jake Paul commits fully to these strategies, he gives himself a chance to last, to frustrate, and to create moments. And at heavyweight, moments are everything. That is why this fight matters. Not because of who should win, but because of how fast everything can collapse when one mistake is all it takes. In fights like this, preparation does not guarantee victory, but it determines whether a fighter collapses instantly or survives long enough to change the story.